Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me here. It's a big honor for me to be today. My presentation actually relates to the first session of yesterday. It's kind of polemics with Professor Voznyak, who presented the efficient system of control of mycotoxins in Russia. His presentation was quite bright and enthusiastic, but I'm afraid I have to add some black spots on that picture. First, I would like to start with the short introduction of my laboratory. My company is a private and owned independent test laboratory established in 1994 with the help of the TACIS program. Right from the beginning, we focused on providing the reliable analytical service for the customers who want real quality and safety of food. So now we're constantly developing a portfolio of our analysis, and now we can offer almost everything for food, feed, and water safety and composition tests. Laboratory is accredited to Russian system, which is, as you see later, not similar to real ISO 17025. And in 2008, we moved to our own building. So here's some information about us. We've got 38 lab employees, 5 PhDs, 2 engineers, and 24 technicians, 164 customers, 128 laboratory tests available, and in 2010 we performed analysis of 9,210 samples. And more than 65,000 tests were performed, not only for mycotoxins, but for all things. Well, turnover and growth is boring. So, our position in the market, we're quite lucky. We're working with the global companies presented in the Russian market. These are mainly vet producers like Mars and Realcanin, but as well as Varila Italian company, which is great. Danone, Cargill, and Vietnamese company American. So we are lucky because these customers are really advanced in quality, so they are promoting us to improve our quality of service. But let's get back to the mycotoxin analysis, the situation in Russia. I think there are major differences from European Union. First of all, I don't see a balanced governmental strategy for mycotoxin control. Second important thing is the absence of social awareness about mycotoxins. It's a big contrast to Europe. People are here crazy about GMOs, not about mycotoxins. One more bad thing is the lack of adequate statistics about overall crop contamination. If you can remember yesterday's presentation of Professor Voznyak, he showed us the results of monitoring. So like 89 samples a year is not representative for whole Russia, I think. One more bad thing is the big financial status of majority of test laboratories, because we got reforms. We've got too many labs, and most of them are full, actually. Very important factor is the obsolete regulations for mycotoxins, and what is more, for methods of analysis. Worst thing is the corrupted system for accreditation of test laboratories. I'll describe this in details later on. Then we don't have national proficiency testing programs on mycotoxins, which is very bad as well. And finally, the isolation of test laboratories because of the severe competition in the market, and we have no integration projects on mycotoxins. So this is my vision to the possible governmental strategy for mycotoxin control, and in the right column you'll see what actually happens. The regulations for mycotoxins in Russia are quite adequate because nowadays they're mainly copied from European Union regulations, but not for everything. Official methods with adequate LOD for these regulations, total allowable limits, are not allowed for all mycotoxins. Proficiency testing programs for laboratories available not for mycotoxins in Russia. The exclusion is famous, which I'll describe later on. What is bad is we have a lot of non-competent laboratories accredited for mycotoxin analysis. Then, two last things: the contaminated crop is not removed from food chains, and the trespassers, the unfair market players, are not prosecuted for this. So this is just an example of how that system works. We have a disintegrated system. Ministry of Health copied the European Union regulations for mycotoxin A in 2008, like 5 ppds for most food and feed matrices for raw materials, and 500 ppds for infant formulas. But the accredited laboratories in Russia can use only official methods, which are actually old and not sensitive enough. But the ROS standard did not offer any national standards for methods with a suitable LOD So test laboratory must implement new sensitive methods to reach the limits, but have no legal chance. So like HPLC with immunoaffinity cleanup is not legal in Russia. But still, every lab is accredited for official mycotoxin analysis, and we do that with TLCs. Yes, regulations for mycotoxins and methods analysis are really awesome. Still, some mycotoxins are not regulated in food in Russia. And most official methods are out of date, like TLC or HPLC with the solid phase extraction and cleanup. There are good exclusions that raw standard actually usually translates ISO and then implemented as a national standard. So a good example is ISO 16050, which is a toxin B1 detection with the immunoaffinity cleanup, but this is the only exclusion. So here's the analysis of national standards in Russia and European norms and international standards which are available in European Union for official control. You see, just the amount of standards, you see the difference. For aflatoxins, yeah, that's it. For deoxynivalenol, 2 excellent European norms with immunoaffinity cleanup and HPLC with fluorescence light detection available, not for Russia. Fumonazines, no. There are no methods, no national standards for fumonazines in Russia at all. For ochratoxinA, we've got old standard developed in Soviet Union, nice new standard for wine with thin layer chromatography with the limit of detection of 100 ppbs. So it's like out of date. But toxin is regulated in Russia, and we've got a nice national standard, but it's actually for mixed feed, but not for food. For zearalenol, situation is much better. We've got 4 national standards. One of them is translated from ISO, but still, most of them are dedicated to mixed feed and materials for feed, but not for food and infant formulas. Now let's go back to the awareness. Society has awareness about GMOs. Really, everyone is anxious about GMO, but nobody really cares about food safety. I mean, things like mycotoxins and pesticides. The importance of mycotoxin control is usually neglected not by just society, but even of the participants of the control system. Lab specialists usually do not understand what is mycotoxin, how dangerous it is. Manufacturers, grand traders, and raw material processing companies usually focuses on quality, but not safety of the products. Lack of statistics for overall crop contamination, which we see, for example, the European system for rapid alert. We don't have that system, so there's no data for potential hazard, and no adequate risk assessment for new crops can be performed in Russia. And what is worse, no prosecution for unfair market players exists in Russia. So, my vision is that the mycotoxins are not perceived as a real menace overall in Russia. Laboratories, yeah, reforms in Russia really slowed down the development of laboratories. Most of them still use thin layer chromatography or HPLCs, but unfortunately, most of the regional laboratories cannot afford modern sensitive HPLC devices and even important devices test kits for sensitive rapid methods. Big governmental centers are equipped very well, but unfortunately, every lab now in Russia suffers from absence of trained personnel. That's a problem of education system. And definitely training for laboratory technicians and managers, that's a big problem with that. Accreditation. The problem of Russia is that each laboratory must be accredited for control. And this accreditation do not allow us to use international standards or European regulations. We must use either national standards or medical guidelines, which do not cover all matrices, all mycotoxins, and whatever. Unfortunately, there is no chance for advanced laboratories to develop new method and validate them in lab and use SOPs for analysis. It's not legal. So, in fact, this stops progress for mycotoxin analysis. Corruption is a big problem. We've got more than 2,500 accredited laboratories for food analysis, which is actually crazy. Some of them have no equipment at all. They just issue test reports with correct data, and unfortunately, unfair market players can always buy the correct test report to sell the product because control is inadequate. So accreditation in Russia cannot be trusted. Proficiency testing is a big problem in Russia. We've got a national system, but unfortunately there are no rounds for mycotoxin analysis in it. FACS is available in Russia now, but unfortunately for most laboratories it's too expensive. And one thing which I forgot to add to my presentation is the absence of calibrants for mycotoxin analysis. Strange system, but in Russia we must use only state-certified materials. So it's not legal to use, for example, Viper or Sigma standards, crystalline calibrants. It's not legal. That's a problem once again.